We work very hard to learn things, to learn skills to get us through life. But a lot of the things we've learned when we were younger, we have no use for anymore.
Nope.
Did we waste our time? We'll find out because John and Nancy are still talking. All right, so back in the, 1800s or whatnot, and before that, one would have to know how to shoe a horse, right?
I suppose.
Or you're not going anywhere.
Right. You got to keep the horses healthy.
You'd have to know how to take care of horses,
Yep.
but then along comes the automobile, and all of a sudden, most of us never see a horse, never touch a horse, right? That's just what happens. So
Times have changed.
and this always goes on in every generation.
Yeah.
Although lately with technology and all that stuff, our skill set that we learned when we were kids and young adults and even adults is worthless in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we
now.
don't need those skills anymore.
They're completely obsolete. So this is a lot of stuff that you learn. Actually, really, it's kind of, I would say, before the internet. Skills you learn before the internet are really just no longer necessary anymore, and it's changing the world. And an article was written about this. It's pretty funny. They had a list on BuzzFeed of just stuff that back in the day you learned it, but who needs it anymore?
Top 10 right now, right?
Like unknotting curly telephone cords. Remember when you used to be on the phone in your house and you'd have the phone that was hooked to the wall and then you'd have like the 15-foot curly cord?
So you could go into the dining room and have some privacy, right? So nobody could hear your call.
But that cord was always like tied in a knot and upside down after you walked around the dining room with it 3 times. And most of us got pretty good at untangling that sucker, right? You learned a skill.
Well, this is kind of along those same lines, refolding a map correctly, because who even has a map in their car these days? So people these days refolding a map or even reading a map.
Yeah, it's a good skill to still have. We were in Chicago last weekend, and when you're on Lower Wacker Drive.
Yeah, you don't have any Wi-Fi, do you?
Well, it's not that. It's just the GPS can't tell if you're on Lower Wacker Drive, Upper Wacker Drive, or Lower Wacker Drive. It can't tell.
Well, actually, that's interesting you said that because we were in Wisconsin and we were way up north where Wi-Fi was sketchy. You weren't getting it. So we were waiting for GPS to kick in. Like, how do I get out of here? Because I don't now remember how I got here.
How do I get out of here?
Because there's lots of rural roads to get where we're going.
So my regular wife, I got my radio wife, Nancy, and my regular wife, Ann. And Ann is a bit snooty
about
map folding.
Oh, she's good at it.
Oh, she's great at it. Apparently, she had a teacher somewhere that was the required thing in the class was to be able to fold a map, and she can fold maps with her eyes closed.
The next time we get together for drinks, I'm going to bring a map. I'm just going to throw it on. I'm going to mix it all up. And
She'll fold
throw it on the table.
She'll fold it blindfolded with one hand, and then she'll mock you for your lack of that skill.
Okay, your handwriting is basically awful. I'm just going to say it right now. So I'm pretty sure that you don't write in cursive.
Never.
Do you?
I never.
You print.
I've lost that skill completely, and I don't know that I was ever really good at cursive when I was actually forced to write it.
See,
it was okay.
I will write cursive just in my list, but I'm not otherwise writing anything. I mean, do we write anything anymore? Really?
A lot of people don't even write, but cursive is particularly out the window. Almost everybody writes in block letters if you write at all. But mostly that's taken care of by
our signature, right? We're writing in cursive for our signature.
Can't read my signature either.
It's just like
it's a scrawl
line.
Yeah,
okay,
awful. So we're talking about skills that you've learned them, you got really good at it, but now you just don't even need these skills anymore. How about just technical skills like setting up a VCR? Remember how you had to set up a VCR to record TV shows in advance? Now you just talk. Now you just talking.
That just gave me a headache. That hurt my eyes. That hurt my brain.
Now you just talking to your remote, right?
Yeah.
Record that show. It takes care of it for you. Or and this is going back even a little further. Giving the old karate chop to the TV to get the picture to clear up.
Yeah.
It would be kind of liney and stuff.
Yeah.
Bang it on the bang it on the side just to get it to work. You don't need to do that anymore. That doesn't work.
I used to work in retail. I used to work it was called a Hooks, but it was like a Walgreens, whatever. So where I used to have to make and count out change for I used to have to give change. People would come up, buy things, I'd ring it up. I would have to give change, and it wasn't always that would tell me how much change to give out, so I would have to count it. No. Are you ever in a situation where you actually have to count out change, and you're like, I'm getting nervous because what if I don't get it right?
Well, even worse, there are now, if you're in a lot of retail stores and something has happened to the computer, the person behind the counter has no idea
Well, this is what I'm
how to
talking
make
about.
change.
This is
Like
what
you
I'm
go,
talking
like,
about.
I need to purchase this. I have a 20. The price of this is $18.31. I will give you this $20 bill. You give me the change back. And a lot of people don't know how to do that.
No, that's what I was talking about. Like if you're giving change
Oh, I see. If you're
back
actually
to
working.
somebody, I can make 1831. You know what I mean?
What's your mental procedure for making change? How do you do it?
I just count.
Count,
I mean, I just count out loud.
count up, right?
I will say 18.
Start at 1831 and you go to 1840 and then
Yeah,
1850, 60, right? I mean, you count up.
I don't even remember now. I mean, I don't do it very often. What's yours?
I count up. You know
You
what I
have
mean?
to
So
count it. Yeah, like, yeah.
You start at whatever
1831
whatever the
get to
price, the total
19,
is, and then
20,
yep,
yeah.
and then you count
Okay.
up to what they gave
Oh,
you.
dear.
See, we don't need
Gosh.
that skill anymore. And how soon we forget? Does anybody?
Nope.
Anybody, even Dewey himself, use the Dewey Decimal System anymore in a library? Do you remember learning the Dewey Decimal System?
Yeah, a little bit, barely. I mean, I don't even, yeah.
It told you where the books were. I mean, that was the Dewey Decimal System. It was all set up as to what order books were based on title, author.
So is it, they still
type.
have to use some kind of system?
No, you punch it into the computer.
No,
and
I
it-
mean, for them to organize books, though,
yeah, but they
in
still,
the library.
It may be organized within the library that way, but outside
Yeah.
of librarians,
Yeah.
you don't have to do
That
anything.
just made me uncomfortable.
you-
Okay.
You punch in title and author, and the computer practically goes and gets the book for you.
I love this next one because we used to have to do this when we were in middle school. We'd go to school, first day of school, we'd get all of our books. They're like, you need to go home and you need to wrap your books in brown paper bags, like the text covers,
But you
to
got to
protect
return them.
the books.
Right, you got to return them for money.
Otherwise, you'll pay.
Right.
Right. So nobody does that anymore
And why would that be?
because they don't have books. A lot of times they're online. Yep.
That's true. You know what?
I mean, there are some books, but they don't. I've never seen my kids never came home and said, "Mom, we have to wrap our textbooks."
So it's gone even farther beyond that. Just because I got kids in college, well, I've got some that are now out of college. But my oldest daughter, when she was going to college, her textbook fees were basically to get online access to textbooks, right?
Yeah.
And they just kind of you pay a fee to be able to access this textbook, but you don't really physically carry a book around in a lot of instances anymore.
Yeah,
Now,
that's true.
she was in college during COVID, and that made it even weirder. But
Yeah.
still, we're almost at a bookless education process with that. I mean, I guess it's a little cheaper, but
Which
you
is
don't
really
get.
a bad sign for my brother-in-law because he sells college textbooks. That's his job.
Okay, well, he better be online.
I mean, he's done that for like 30 years.
It's a product of every generation. You learn this stuff, and then remember everybody used to be way a long time ago. Everybody had to learn how to make a fire without matches, right?
I would die. I am not very good in the outdoor woodsy thing.
Don't need that anymore. You got your Bic. That's all you need, right? That's all you need. But the number one thing I think that we don't have to do anymore, we used to take up huge amounts of brain space with this skill.
Yep.
Huge amounts of brain space.
Absolutely.
But not anymore. We no longer are required to remember.
Phone numbers.
Yep.
I know 2 phone numbers. I know my phone number and I know my husband's phone number. And those are the only phone numbers I remember.
I definitely don't know off the top of my head any of my children's phone
No,
numbers.
me
Not a
neither.
one.
No.
And I got 4 of them, but I don't know what their numbers are. They're in my phone as the name of the kid. And I press that or I say
Exactly.
it and it calls
But
them up.
boy, we've freed up a lot of space in that brain.
Maybe, but what are we using it for? Is it making us happier or not?
Well,
or were we happier?
you've got a ton of music trivia up there, so that's what you use yours for.
Great, that's useful. I know my wife's phone number. I know my phone number. I know the phone number of my house when I lived in Chicago when
Okay.
I was in junior high and high school.
I do too.
I know that phone number.
I do too. I remember mine.
And that's it. Now my older sister, she's like a weird savant person. My older sister remembers basically every phone number we ever had, and we moved a lot
Oh, God.
when we were kids because we were Navy brats. And my sister can regurgitate phone numbers from Boston, from Omaha, from
Wow.
Chicago, from all these places. And she doesn't know why she has them, but there they are. They're just in
Right.
her brain, and she can't shake them.
She can't get 'em
and,
out.
And no one will pay her to do that professionally, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, we hope you have some skills that you can continue to use or not. And one of our skills is trying to talk to you guys all the time, because if you keep listening,
We'll keep talking.
see you next time.
Bye.